Hi, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining me today on this session. I hope everybody's had a very good lunch and is not too sleepy after eating a bit. I'm gonna try to keep the session entertaining for everybody, and I hope everybody's gonna have a good time. Um, so today's session, we're gonna talk about how to accelerate Microsoft Teams adoption through an enriched end user experience and governance. And we'll see how we can achieve that with Powell Teams, the new Microsoft Teams governance and adoption solution from Powell Software. Before we start anything, I'd just like to point out that we have a code of conduct and we take it very seriously for this event. We want this conference to be a safe place where attendees can join and continue their learning path. And if you want more details about the code of conduct, feel free to visit the website. Although I'm not originally from Australia or New Zealand, I'd like to also acknowledge the traditional owners of the land of which this conference is being hosted. All right, awesome. So just by ways of quick introduction, with you today on this session is myself, Pierre Delage. So I'm your point of contact at Powell Software in Asia Pacific. I'm based out of Sydney, Australia. So for today's session, what we'll do in terms of the agenda, we'll start with getting a little bit of an overview on Powell Software. The idea is for you to understand a bit more who we are and what we do exactly. Then we'll go through a little bit of an overview on Microsoft Teams as a solution. I'm sure there's utilizations so far, and then getting straight into Powell Teams with a quick introduction on the key features that are available on Powell Teams, followed by a live demonstration for you to get a good idea of what Powell Teams does exactly. Then it'll be followed by the deployment process to understand how to deploy Powell Teams on your environment. And then we'll talk about the roadmap. The roadmap you'll see in this presentation is a fairly short-term roadmap. All of these features should be implemented within the next 2 months. To give you a little bit of a context, Powell Teams is a solution that was actually meant to be released a little bit later this year, but given the whole COVID-19 situation, we've decided to speed up the release of the product to hopefully help businesses control the team sprawl and so on, with Microsoft Teams being rolled out in so many organizations. And finally, we'll see together how you can request your free trial for Powell Teams, so you can benefit from a 2-month free trial to test the solution before rolling it out to the entire organization. And finally, we'll take some time to answer any questions that you may have. So as you can see on this live event, you have a Q&A section. Feel free to raise any question as I'm presenting, and we'll take some time towards the end to answer these questions together, basically. And also something I wanted to highlight, I know it's a question that comes up a lot. Yes, this session is going to be recorded and it'll be available on all the Microsoft 365 Maze social networks, as well as the YouTube channel and so on. So no problem with that. All right, so to start with, I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview on Powell Software as a company. I know some of you might not be aware of Powell Software. So we're essentially an international software vendor that specializes really in digital workplace solutions. It's a business that was launched about 4 years ago, and that was actually founded by a Microsoft system integrator that was specialized in, especially in deploying intranets on top of SharePoint. So our headquarters are officially in France. That's where also the mother company was based out of, and this is where most of the development is still done out of. Very quickly after launching the solution, we opened offices in North America, in Seattle more specifically. I'm sure, as everybody would be aware, the idea was really to leverage our partnership with Microsoft, given that all our solutions are pure play Microsoft solutions. And very quickly after opening this office in Seattle, we opened offices on the East Coast of the US as well. And then in 2018, we opened our first APAC office, which is based out of Hong Kong. And just about 2 months ago, I relocated here in Sydney, Australia, to open officially our Australian office. Last year was a big year for us as well. We opened offices in Dubai, South Africa, Germany, and the UK, and hopefully we'll see more on the grid later this year. As of today, Powell Software services over 300 customers globally. That represents a user base of about 1.5 million people. Today, they are mainly using our SharePoint solution, but with Powell Teams being released a little bit earlier this month, we're seeing obviously a massive opportunity to grow this user base to not only SharePoint. Something very important as well, we operate exclusively through a network of partners. So we develop the core solutions, and then we have partners in every local market that are trained and certified on the Powell software solutions, and that are then implementing it with the end user. And the last thing I wanted to highlight here is that as of January 1st, we've raised 16 million US dollars, which is really going to help us keep up to date with the best solutions out there in the digital workplace space. All right, so just a quick slide here, just to explain our positioning in the digital workplace space. We like to say that we try to address four main challenges within an organization. The first of all would be the communication engagement challenge. So how do you engage your workforce through internal communication? That to us is really the intranet piece. Then you have the challenge of accessing all of your business applications from one place, which we have an application for as well. And then we have the mobility aspect of things, which is our mobile application, essentially. And finally, the collaboration piece, which to us today is Microsoft Teams. So for all of these challenges, obviously, we have a solution. The first one here is Powell 365, our intranet portal solution that goes on top of SharePoint. This is the solution we are historically known for. This goes really as a layer on top of SharePoint, where you can benefit from libraries of templates and widgets and really integrate the whole of Office 365, as well as connect to external applications within your SharePoint environment. Then we have Powell Hub, our productivity platform. So this is a one-stop shop where you can access all your business applications from one window. Then we have Powell Apps, our mobile application, which renders both the intranet portal, Powell 365, as well as the productivity platform, Powell Hub. And finally, we have Powell Teams. So the solution we'll be focusing on today, which is our new Microsoft Teams governance and adoption platform for Teams. So talking a little bit about Microsoft Teams, I think it's important to give a little bit of context around Teams. I know a lot of this information won't be new to the attendees of this event, but it's interesting to understand why is it that Powell Software decided to invest so much effort into building a solution for Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams today is really the new collaboration hub of the Microsoft Suite. This is a platform where you can communicate through chats, meetings, and calls, where you can collaborate as well, with obviously with the ability to interact on documents directly within Teams through the integration of the whole Office 365 suite, really. And also a platform that you can personalize and extend through third-party extensions and applications. And that's where we come in play as well. And finally, a platform that's secured, relying on obviously all of the Microsoft security. Quick, a few figures about Microsoft Teams that I thought would be interesting to see. It's great to see that it's the fastest adoption for any Microsoft product ever. Really, it's been a hit since day one. As of today, there's over 500,000 companies worldwide using Teams. It's over 90% of the Fortune 100 companies on Microsoft Teams. It's available in 53 languages, which is amazing to think of. And the last figure that I really want to highlight, and which is really crazy to me, is that today Microsoft Teams has surpassed 75 million daily active users. Before the lockdown, they were actually closer to 40 million, which means there's been obviously a massive increase in Teams usage since the whole pandemic. So with With Microsoft Teams being rolled out to a lot of organizations for the past 24 months, but especially in the past year, really, and a lot of our own customers rolling out Teams internally, we've seen a lot of concerns, and some of these concerns can be summed up in this slide from our customers when we speak to them. Some of these concerns are, if we look at this slide, we have three main pillars, let's say. The biggest concern we see everywhere is really how do I manage the ever increasing amount of teams I'm a part of? How do I organize them? How do I do with all these teams basically to find the right information? The second thing, which is more, which is also from an admin standpoint, is really how do I simplify the entire team's creation process? How do I make sure people in my organization are creating teams the right way? And finally, how do I ensure that my end users are enforcing best practices and are really using these best practices? And how do I even put in place these best practices within the organization with such a solution? So those were some of the key concerns we've really seen with our customers for the past 12 months, and that's how we started thinking really about building this governance solution for Microsoft Teams, because we were really identifying a big gap when it came to governance. So going straight into it now with an introduction on Powell Teams. Here I'm going to go through just a couple slides really to introduce some of the big features that are available right now on Powell Teams, and then I'll get into a live demonstration for you to actually see what Powell Teams is and how does it actually work. So Powell Teams today, what it does, first of all, from an end user standpoint, is that it helps you organize your teams. As you can see here on the left-hand side, this is the classic view of your teams. So you've just basically got a list of all the teams you're a part of, and it can become really difficult to organize them, but also to find the right team in that list. With Powell Teams, as you can see here on this screenshot, what you have as an end user is a nice little dashboard with all of your teams displayed as tiles. And on the left-hand side, nice little refiners. So we add metadata to the team so that you can have tags and that you can really search through your teams using these tags. So that's the first big benefit of Powell Teams really is to be able to organize your teams and search through your teams. Then what we have as well, and which is really big with Powell Teams, is the ability to templatize your teams. So here as an administrator, what you're able to do is to build templates that you can then make available to your organization for them to build to create teams without going through the classic teams creation process where they have to recreate all of the channels and the tabs and so on. Here, everything is automatically configured based on the templates, basically. You can also set the privacy level at the template level, and you can also define default owner and members. And you can even have a minimum of team owners and team members. And this feature here is very interesting because it already avoids a lot of case scenarios you don't want to happen within your organization when it comes to teams. For example, having an employee creating a team just with one other colleague just to share a document one-on-one. That's what not Teams is meant to be. And this is something that can be avoided by having a minimum amount of team members, for example. Same with the team owners. Obviously, sometimes you might have a team owner walking out the organization with plenty of teams with him. With this feature, obviously, you don't have that case scenario happening anymore. All right, so what I'm going to do is I will share my screen and I will show you what Powell Teams look like. So here I am on the web view of Microsoft Teams because I'm using a demo account. But basically, the first thing you see here on this page is that I am on the Powell Teams app. So Powell Teams is a Teams application, so it's available directly in the store, and you can just roll it out and have it here on the left-hand side of your Microsoft Teams application. Once you are inside Powell Teams, so this is the end user view. Here I have a little gear button here that's to go into the administration center. I've got this button only because my demo account is an administrator, of course. But as an end user, this is the view you get when you launch Powell Teams, basically. So you have this nice little dashboard with all of your teams organized through tiles. So it makes it more visual, but also what you can see is the most recent documents within the teams here in this tile. And in the future, we will be implementing a lot more intelligent things here. You will be able to see the recent announcements within the team, the recent events, for example, directly here within this tile, basically. What you can see as well is that on the left-hand side, you have these refiners. So these are all the tags that are applied to the teams itself, and that you can use to really refine your search, basically. You also have a search function here directly. What I wanted to show you as well is if you click on somebody here, for example, you also have a nice little ID card that pops here with the contact detail of the user, as well as his last documents, for example. And this is, we're pulling this out from Delve. Okay, so what I want to show you now is how do I create a new team with Powell Teams? Because obviously what we recommend a lot of our customers is to just disable the ability of creating a team with the classic create a team button, so that your end user has to go through this application and has to use a company template to create a team. So here, if I go in nice little wizard. Okay. All right, I've got the demo gods with me again. There we go. So here I am in this nice little wizard where I can start my team's creation, basically. So the first thing I have to do is to select a template. I cannot create a team from scratch. So if I click on choose template, I've got a live teams using the template across the organization. So here, let's say that I'm going to choose my classic template to create my teams. Once I've selected my template, I go on to the next step, which is to fill the general information. So here I'm going to fill all the information that's associated to this template. As you can see here, I've got 3 tags. All these tags are required that I need to associate to these teams. So here, let's say that this teams is going to be for my marketing team in the US, and it's going to be for internal use only. And here, what I fill is my team name and description. Now, what you can see here is that my organization has set a naming policy. So the name of my team, I can't actually choose what is the full name of the team. The full name of the team will be tag number 1 hyphen tag number 2 hyphen name, basically. So let's say that this is for a and here I'm just going to put a little description, and then I am good to go once I fill this information. So here I go on the next step, which is invite people to the team and define the team's privacy. As you can see here, the only choices I have is private. This has been defined at the template level. I cannot choose the privacy level, so I have to leave it private. And here I need to is a default team owner. I can't do anything about it. He's here as a team owner. Same for Jim as a team member. So here, obviously, before creating my team, I cannot create my team if I don't meet these minimum requirements. So I'm just going to add another one. I'm going to add myself, and I'm going to add just 2 team members. There we go. So now I have met my minimum requirements. I could add more team owners and team members, of course. Nobody will stop me from this. But then once that's met, I can go on to the next step. And the next step is essentially to review the information and validate my team to create it. So here, if I'm good with all this information, I can just create the team. Here, I'm not going to create a team right now because it's a demo account and we've got already plenty of teams created in this account. But what I want to show you now is what happens at the back end. So here I'm going to go in my administration center, and this is the view you get as an IT admin, basically. As a Powell Teams administrator, you don't even have to be an admin. You just have to have a Powell Teams admin make you an admin. So here, what you can see as an admin is an overview of not the teams, but the templates you've created and made available to your organization. So here, from here, I can disable or enable templates to the organization. And again, I can see the number of teams using the template. What I can do as well is, first of all, I want to show you the global administration settings. What I can do here, and that's usually the first thing our customers do, I can build my tags, my profiles. PNP schema is something I'll talk about a little bit more after, but it's something that's coming soon on the roadmap. I can also manage my naming conventions and my Powell Teams administrators directly from here. So for example, if I go in my tags, here I've got essentially a list of all the tags that I've created for the organization. And if I need to create a new tag, I can directly do it from here. So for example, if I say I'm going to have a location tag, and here I could say I put a choice, and here I can put my different choices basically, and here add a choice and so on. So I can create my tag directly here very easily. And what I can do as well that I want to show you is I can create profiles. So profiles are essentially user groups. Here, for example, I've got an IT profile with my IT people, same with managers, with my managers. I can create as many profiles as I want so that then I can target my templates to the right people. And here to create a profile, I can do it by adding users individually, or I can do it based on an Office 365 profile property. And same with the naming conventions. Essentially, I can create a naming convention directly from here. So what I want to show you now is when I go back to my templates, I want to show you how to create a template and how to really add that governance aspect of it to the template. So here I'm going to create my template. Basically, what I need to start doing is have a name and a description. And that's what my end user is going to see when choosing the template. So let's say that this template is going to be for my legal projects. So this is a template for legal projects. Oh, sorry about that. Here we go. I can go on to the next step. And then basically what we do when we create a template is that we use an existing team that we duplicate, that we clone, and this becomes the base of the template, basically. And then we add all these different settings to the template once the template is created. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose an existing team to create my template. Let's say that here I'm going to choose my communication with MS team, and I am going to make it the template. So before creating the template, I basically choose what settings do I want to clone from this team to make it a template. So by default, I have to clone the channels, but I could also decide to clone the applications, the settings, the tabs, even the members. Although members is probably not best practices that we recommend, given that usually you create a template so that your users can create multiple teams with obviously different members within these teams, but you could do it as well. Once you're good with the settings to clone, you can create the template. So here I'm going to create the template. It's just going to take a couple seconds. And once that's ready, we're going to be able to see how we can really add that governance bit to it. So congratulations, I've got my template created. Now I can go into the template details. So here I have my legal projects template. So if I want to, obviously I can put a picture to it. And here I've got 3 tabs. The first one is design, then we have governance and default members. In the design tab, what you see is essentially the associated team to this template. you also see the settings that were cloned to create the template. And if you want to change those settings, you can always do it and resynchronize the team settings, basically. And finally, here, what you can see is the associated SharePoint template behind it. As you know, when you create a team, there is a default SharePoint site that is created behind each team. So as of today, it will be creating a default team site, but tomorrow, so that's coming soon on the roadmap, again, that should be available within the next 2 months, we'll be able to leverage Office PNP to be able to leverage existing templates. Template level. So I could decide not to use one or use an existing naming convention. So here I can use one that I've predefined before in my global settings. Or if I don't find the right one here, I can create a new one directly from here as well. Once I'm good with my naming convention, I can move on to the privacy. So here I can decide to make it private, which is the case we had when we created a team using a template previously. Or I could let my user choose or make it public by default. Then what I can do here is I can target this template. So I can make it available to everyone or only to specific user. And this is where I use my profiles. So for example, I'm going to make this template only available to my marketing team in Germany. And here what you can do as well is select your classification just to classify the team in terms of the overall impact, in terms of the sensitivity of the data. And finally here, I can add my tags. So I could say I want to have a department tag. I want to have location as a tag, and maybe I'd like to have project end date, for example. So here I've got my 3 tags. I can add more if I want to. I can also create a tag directly from here if I don't find the right one. And then what I can do is I can set my default value for these tags. So here, for example, if I say marketing, by default it will be it will show marketing basically. And I can also decide to make these tags mandatory or not during the team's creation process. And finally here, what you define is the minimum number of team owners and team members, which is very useful. And finally, in this last tab, what you can see here is your default team owners and default team members. So for example, here, I don't have to add a default team owner, but for example here, because it's a legal project template, I might want to have my head of legal as a default team owner for all the teams using this template. That's something I could do basically directly from here. And here again, don't forget to enable and disable the template directly from here. And that's essentially how you can use Powell Teams for now. So that's an overview of what Powell Teams does today, and what I want to show you afterwards is what's coming next with the roadmap. So first of all, wanted to go quickly on this slide. Please take a moment to scan the QR code if you want to enter the prize draw. We're running a competition on a weekly basis with different prices. So I'll just put up this slide for 10 more seconds if you want to scan the QR code. All right, awesome. I'm sure everybody's had time to scan it, and you can still scan it in the recording later on as well. So very quick summary in terms of the gaps basically that Powell Teams is filling with in regards to governance on teams. First of all, I think one feature that we provide here is really this welcome dashboard with the recent activities within the teams directly for the end user, the ability to organize and filter teams through tags, which is very important. The ability to use templates also, and also to target these templates to specific users based on their roles. The ability to have default members and owners, and also the minimum amount of team owners and team members. The next two one are features that are on the roadmap that are coming in the coming weeks. Like I mentioned, the ability of leveraging SharePoint templates with PNP schema will also be making it available for the Powell 365 users. If they're using Powell 365 on SharePoint, they will be able to leverage their SharePoint templates directly. And the next one is a very big one that we're really waiting for. It'll be available literally in the coming 1 or 2 weeks. It's the approval workflow. So the ability to really be able to approve teams before it's actually created. And also another really interesting feature that's going to come is the ability to add default content within a team. So for example, if you create a template for RFP responses, for example, you might want to have in the team when the team is created to have default content loaded already in the team. For example, you might want to have, I don't know, like a budget template or just a response template directly in the team, and that will be feasible very soon. And also, of course, the ability to have configured tabs when cloned. So very quickly touching on the deployment process, it's very simple. So please note that as of right now, Powell Teams is not available in the store yet. So right now it's a manual deployment. It takes literally less than 10 minutes. It's very easy. But we are just basically, it's pending approval from Microsoft. I know that technically speaking, everything has been approved. Now it's just a matter literally of days before Powell Teams is available in the store. Once it's in the store, you're able to download the app directly from the Team store. And then there's just a quick validation process at our end to activate the license, and then it's good to go basically to be deployed to be rolled out on your Microsoft Teams environment. So very easy to get Powell Teams up and running. And now the roadmap. So that's a very exciting bit. There's plenty of very nice features coming, and that's what I wanted to touch upon. So first of all, some of the upcoming changes when it comes to the end user experience. So what we'll be able to do in the future is, first of all, when it comes to the refiners, the tags, the end user will be able to set his own preferences with the refiners. What you'll be able to do as well is to make teams favorite teams. So you'll be able to star teams basically, and as you can see on the screenshot, you will be able to have different tabs with your favorite teams, your overall teams, your recent teams. You will also be able to have official teams in the sense that, for example, so the administrator will be able to make certain teams official. For example, if you want to set a team as an official communication channel, that team will be flagged as official to the entire organization. That's something that will be available soon as well. And then we'll be adding a couple more features in the creation process. So for example, we'll have this nice little window just to help the users basically avoid duplicating teams, which is something that happens a lot nowadays. So with this feature, basically, when you try to create a team, the application will run a search and make sure that you're not duplicating an existing team, basically. So you'll have this sort of warning message before actually creating the team, just to make sure you don't want to use an existing team to do your project or to work basically. And also another thing that's coming in the creation process is people recommendation. So based on their skills, you'll be able to have recommendations to add the right people in your team. And now from an administrator standpoint, so those are some of the really exciting features that are coming up. The first two ones are probably the most exciting ones. The first one is the ability to apply templates on existing teams. So that's something that's not doable as of today, but again, that's something we're expecting in the next week or two to have. Is basically, yes, the ability, because a lot of customers, most customers, when they will get Powell Teams, obviously you will already have existing teams within your environment. So with this feature, you'll be able to create a template and apply that template to your existing teams, basically, with all the tags and so on that come with it. And the second one is the approval workflow. So that's a big one as well. And I know it's really something that a lot of customers are waiting for. So it's really the ability to approve teams before it's actually created. So in the first release, what we'll have is a simple workflow that will be directly into Powell Teams. But in the longer run, we'll provide connectors so that we can integrate it with Power Automate, for example, and have more complex workflows. We'll provide also usage analytics to the administrator. Analytics has always been very important, so we'll provide analytics to the admin. Also, the ability to archive teams, so to be able to have lifecycle management essentially. And finally, like I mentioned before, the ability to leverage SharePoint templates through PNP templates or even the Power 365 site designs, basically. And finally, a nice welcome administrator dashboard, which is something that we don't have today. It's just the overview of all the templates, but tomorrow you'll have this nice dashboard with the pending approvals, the analytics, and so on, organized nicely. And that is pretty much the short-term roadmap. There's obviously a lot more features that are in the roadmap, but what I wanted to show you today is really the short-term roadmap. All of these features, again, should be available in the next 2 months, basically. And yeah, what I wanted to go through with you as well today is obviously we are committed to also supporting organizations that are going through a very tough time, obviously during this situation. So what we've decided to do is to provide free trials for Powell Teams. The idea is really to provide you the opportunity to try the solution to see if it really fills the governance gaps that you're facing on Microsoft Teams, and hopefully help these organizations, basically. So that's, we are providing this free trial. If you want to request one, you can directly go on either our website and basically fill this form, and we'll be in touch very shortly with the installation package and a short session to get your Powell Teams installed and good to go. Or you can directly get in touch with myself, and I'll make sure that your free trial is on very quickly, basically. A huge thanks to our sponsors. I think that's very important to mention that nothing would be possible without them. But also, most and foremost, massive shout out to the organizers of this event. I think especially Lorian, Megan, and Rebecca. They've done an amazing job in putting this whole event together. And I'm hoping everybody's enjoying all the sessions that are available throughout the month of May. And finally, you can contact me directly. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can email me directly, and you can reach out to anyone at Powell Software. Really, I'd be more than happy to connect. Especially being new in Australia, New Zealand, I'm really looking forward to networking with a lot of people. And now I want to take some time to answer any questions that you may have raised during the session. Yes, I see a question asking where's the application development being done? Yes, so the development is done out of France. That's where most of our developers are based out of, and then we also have technical leads in North America, in the Middle East, and in the rest of Europe as well. And hopefully in the future, the plans for Powell Software is really to build a local team in Australia or New Zealand, actually, to have technical resources out of Australia and New Zealand. I see an interesting question. Is it possible to modify the theming of the Powell Teams dashboard? It's not possible right now, but this is something that is in the roadmap. Is really to be able to customize the user's dashboard for now, and in the longer run, maybe the administration section as well. All right, no more question. I think we're coming up to the end of this session. This session was planned for 45 minutes. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any question. The recording will be available very soon up on all the social networks. And again, please feel free to get in touch if you want to request your Powell Teams free trial. I'd be more than happy to help you install it and obviously provide you with all the necessary information.